Well, that was painful. The summer of cricket has officially begun here in the land down under, and Australia pumped pretty much everyone except for one team. And not only did that one team come back and beat us in the first test at Optus Stadium where Australia's never lost, they pumped them. And I mean pumped the living shit out of them. India go 1-up in the Border Gavaskar series once again, the trophy that has eluded Australia for 10 years and the trophy that has eluded this great Australian generation. And everyone knows this will likely be the last time this team is together in its current state. And to be honest, after the performance they just dished out, this may very well be the final time this great test team are together. And they have won everything except for this Border Gavaskar trophy because there's something about India that just seems to love pumping the heck out of Australia. And they've done it again. It was looking good at tea time on day one. Australia bowled India out for 150 and Australia were coming out to bat with the intention to survive, then put on a big score in day two. But let's be honest, Australia didn't even survive till day two. Well, I guess technically they did. Shout out to Alex Carey and Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood for somehow being the best batsmen of the first innings for Australia. But really, this was an embarrassing test match and has really exposed everything that's been wrong with Australian cricket for the last little while that no one's wanted to admit because this team has been holding it up by winning so many trophies. And this Australian team will go down as one of the best of all time. But when Warner retired last year, it did feel like that was the beginning of the end. And I didn't think it would happen so quickly. I thought we'd probably get through next year's Ashes series. But at the moment, we're probably not even get through this test series because the way Australia lost to India, their worst loss to India on Australian soil, that is absolutely embarrassing. And it's on a pitch where Australia do their best work. That day one pitch where it was green, it was seaming, it was swinging, it was doing all sorts. And the bowlers did their job, and of course the batsmen came out and did what Australian batsmen do best, and that is collapse because one bloke can't make runs when no one else can make runs. And the problem is because Australia were going so well, it almost felt like they were all due to collapse and drop out of form at the same time. Not one of these Australian batsmen has been good since the Ashes, you could argue. You could even argue the Test Championship because no one really batted great in the Ashes either. It's Marnus's longest drought without a Test ton. It's Steve Smith's longest drought with a Test ton, even when he missed the year because of the whole Bunnings warehouse situation. The bowling attack has bailed this batting lineup a lot over the last 18 months or so, but they couldn't because India were just so damn good. Now, when 2 billion people will kill each other to try and make a sporting team, I guess you're going to have a good team, but they were coming off a pretty embarrassing loss at home to New Zealand, and they've come out, and they didn't just win against Australia, they've absolutely pumped us, and now we're questioning the entire makeup of this golden team. And I use the word golden because it was a team that couldn't stop winning, and now it's a team that all seems to be in a competition to see who can get a golden duck. And there's no denying how good India were in this first test match. I mean, to be bowled out for 150 isn't great, but considering the way Australia played on that green deck at the end of day one, it really showed that India were just hanging in there. They were doing the tough stuff. They were taking a few on the body. They were just hanging in there, trying to survive until they could get Australia at the end of day one. I'm not saying they wanted to get bowled out on day one, but it certainly helped because Jasprit Bumrah was steaming in on the end of day one as it was getting a bit cloudy, taking Aussie souls for fun. Siraj was an absolute freak. He was a gun last time when he was in Australia when they beat us at the Gabba, coming in as a young gun, and he was brilliant again in this test match. You had Harsha Rana steaming in on his test debut, talking mad shit and taking Aussie souls while sticking his dirty tongue out, the dirty bastard. This India team got bowled out for 150 and they came out with that swagger. Virat Kohli dropped a catch and still wouldn't shut the heck up. India was so bloody good, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but I do think Australia's batting lineup really just made things 10 times worse for the bowlers. This pitch, I don't know how it became the godlike for bowling on day one, and by day two, batters could just sit there for 5 hours. Well, India could, Australia wouldn't be able to do shit. And it was time for digging for Australia. It was time to get there, sit there, just make a fight out of it, and they sort of did. They got up to 250. Travis Head got an 80. Mitch Marsh got a 40, but Marnus had an absolute stinker. Paddy Cummins, God bless him, came out to try and be a night watchman, try and put his hand up, get Australia through till day 4, but he couldn't do anything either. It was the worst performance I think I've seen from Australian team. At least this Australian team. The last one I can probably think of is you got to go back to 2018, maybe on Boxing Day when India bullied them again. But Australia did lose to the West Indies last year. They did have their problems with Pakistan, and Pakistan, if they just knew how to field, could have made that series really competitive. And I said this in a video I made nearly a year ago that absolutely nobody wanted to watch. But the biggest problem at the moment for Australian cricket is we've just got no one coming through. There's no one beating the door down to get into this team. There's no one screaming to put their hand up to try and take one of these spots. This is the oldest / most experienced team, whatever you want to call it. And I'd like to think it's most experienced, but the other day it did just look like the oldest. People say bleed some young guns, but at the moment there are no young guns. Poor Marcus Harris and Cam Bancroft, there was finally an opening spot up for grabs, and both of them couldn't score a run in the Sheffield Shield to save their lives. Nathan McSweeney went all right in the Australia A team. They thought they'd chuck him at the top of the order against Jasprit Bumrah. And the way Australia played, top of off, try and hit that top of off, confuse the batter which way he's going to play. Mitchell Stark, he fools around with a Yorker here or there. Bumrah just went, I'm just going to aim at those stumps, baby, and it's either going to hit your bat or I'm going to hit your pad, and he did that, and he absolutely ran through this Australian lineup. Jasprit Bumrah showed probably the best bowling attack of all time, how to bowl on this wicket, and they just didn't have an answer, because there was a young gun who's making his Australian debut called Jaswal, who absolutely tore Australia apart. And the worst part is, after the first innings, you thought they'd all be rattled with confidence because they all got out cheaply, but then in the second innings, Australia have just bowled all these guys back into form. Jaswal's hog is going to be full of blood. He's going to have so much confidence. Virat Kohli scored his first test century in 23 months. So now he's going to come out as the swaggy, arrogant prick that he is because he's so damn good. We've just played everyone from India back into form with some of the worst bowling this team has produced. I'm not saying it's horrible. I do think it's a one-off. I don't think it's a situation like Australia's batters because they're all under pressure now. And it's a tough situation because I do think just sitting here, there's no way you can drop anyone from this test team just yet, especially Nathan McSweeney. He has to stay. But you're going to be sending all these guys into the second test in Adelaide with Jasprit Bumrah running around with a pink ball. If Bumrah can get Australia under lights again, but this time with a pink ball swinging in Adelaide as the sun goes down, then I don't care if you're Don Bradman, you're going to be shitting your pants. And when you have Marnus out there who's averaging 20 in his last 10 test matches, you're going to be in some trouble. The boys are just so much down on confidence. I don't know what's going to happen in the test too. Can Australia bounce back? I think with this bowling attack, anything is possible. They had a really tough time on day 2 and 3 in Perth. I'd like to think that was a one-off. I back him to get back, but holy heck, they're going to have to pull their head in, and they're going to have to pull their head in quick. If they fall to 2-0, with the final test being in Sydney, knowing it's going to rain out, and if it's 2-2, they retain it. If this Australian team cannot beat India, that will be the stain on their record, which will be a shame, because this is my Australian team. This is the one that I've grown up with, and I want to finally see them beat these Indians, but they're so good. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know in that comment section down below, do you think India are going to pump Australia down there in Adelaide? Do the Aussies have to make some changes? And I'll see you in the next one.